be the Gateway High School principal here. I'd like to welcome everybody tonight to the 2019 National Honor Society Induction Ceremony. At this time, I would like to call up Treasurer Zoe Abel, who will sing our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to invite up the NHS President, Arpitha Udupa, who will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Although I'm new to Gateway High School as an administrator, I have always been a Gateway Gator, and I am proud to say that I graduated from this high school many years ago. It is because of the love, support, and guidance, influence, and input all of you have had that we gather here tonight as guests. On behalf of the inductees, I want to say thank you for being here, and thank you for your own commitment to the National Honor Society's 4 pillars: character, scholarship, service, and leadership. Next, I'd like to recognize and thank Mr. Sean Whelan, our NHS sponsor, and members of the Faculty Council. Your dedication to this organization, mentorship of our students, and willingness to serve are all critically important in how we all got here today and in experiences and outcomes for these students. Thank you. Finally, I'd like to welcome our students. Current and soon-to-be members of National Honor Society, congratulations and thank you. I am proud of each one of you here today. Thank you for embracing and embodying the 4 pillars of NHS Foundation. Your unwavering character, commitment to scholarship, dedication to service, and development of leadership are all inspiring and critically important to who you are and who we are. In countless ways, you have impacted our culture and our climate here at Gateway. Again, congratulations. Within the next year or two, you all will probably be leaving the comfortable, familiar, friendly hallways and classrooms of Gateway High School, moving on to college. It is in this new educational environment at this next stage of your life that you should be faced with numerous challenges. You need to leave your comfort zone. In doing so, you may even struggle academically for the first time. You may even fail. And you know what? That's okay. We all need to take risks and leave our comfort zone. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Whelan, our National Honor Society advisor.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Hello, everyone. It's a wonderful evening here tonight, and my job is difficult, I have to introduce our guest speaker. When I thought about this, I really wasn't sure what to do. I didn't want to give a real formal introduction, but I also didn't want to be too casual. The bottom line that it is difficult to express what this person has meant to our school, our students, our communities, his family, colleagues, and to me personally. The majority of our students being inducted tonight have had the privilege of being taught by our speaker, and I've had the pleasure of being called many times his best friend, although not a very good one. He has taught at Gateway High School for the past 30 years and has dedicated a significant portion of his life to the noble work of teaching, especially the teaching of history. I was told once by the famous Western Pennsylvania author and popular historian David McCullough that teaching history was, quote, doing God's work. Our guest speaker tonight definitely represents the sentiments that Mr. McCullough expressed. It is funny how time flies through our lives because 10 years ago is when I became the National Honor Society advisor, and tonight's guest speaker was also the guest speaker for my first induction ceremony. I read my introduction from that night and remembered how I spoke about his passion and commitment and how he tried to inspire his students every single day. I spoke of him being awarded the Gilder Lehrman Institute Pennsylvania History Teacher of the Year Award and how he has received many other accolades over the years. Those sentiments are still applicable today, even as he nears the end of such a wonderful career. I also thought about his unfailing dedication to his family and to autism research and advocacy. I fully assumed I would have already become quite emotional at this point, which of course would be something that he would be teasing me about quite a bit, but I've always enjoyed making him laugh. So without further ado, I am very honored and humbled to introduce my friend and colleague, Mr. Mark Wallace.
Wow, that was a very nice introduction. I'd like to thank Mr. Whelan and the National Honor Society officers for inviting me to speak tonight. I'm delighted to have had this opportunity. As many of you know, this is my last year of teaching at Gateway. I intend to retire from teaching here in June. Since I came to Gateway 30 years ago, I've had the privilege of working with countless students. Many have been inductees to this organization. I am grateful and thankful for that opportunity. Teaching here in this community has been a thrill and an honor. All I ever wanted to be was a history teacher. I feel so lucky that that dream came true here. Nevertheless, tonight is about you, the inductees. According to the National Honor Society website, those inducted into the society must have a demonstrated excellence in scholarship, service, leadership, and character. To be invited into membership, all of you had to prove that you possess these 4 attributes. Proof of excellence in scholarship could easily be determined by your academic transcripts. Evidence of service and leadership could certainly be found on your application for membership. In fact, based on your grades and experiences in and out of the classroom, it would be obvious whether or not you demonstrated excellence in those first 3 areas. The 4th area, character, would be the most difficult to prove. Evidence of it might not readily be apparent on your application. This is understandable, as character is fairly tough to even define. What is character? I won't bore you with Webster's definition. I'm not sure it's helpful anyways. I think character is more recognized than defined. We know it when we see it, and when we see it, we admire it and celebrate it. So maybe the question then is not how to determine if you have it. Maybe the bigger question is, how does character develop in a person? How could you or anyone genuinely be recognized as a person of character? For some insights into how character develops, let's turn to the past. I often rely on history when I seek to understand something concerning human affairs. After all, I am a history teacher. So I think a story from the past may help us better understand what true character is, where it comes from. Let me tell you about a man named Frank. Frank was born into a wealthy family. His dad was 57 when he was born. His mother was only 28. He was an only child to his parents, and they heaped attention on him, particularly his overprotective mother, who coddled him extensively. He grew up on a large estate surrounded by servants but few other children. He was tutored at home until he was 14 years old. Then he attended the most prestigious preparatory school in the country, Groton. From there, he went on to Harvard, and he earned a BA in history, and then went on to study law at Columbia University. He passed the bar examination and practiced law at a well-known New York firm. In the meantime, he married a woman from a very prominent family while in law school and began to have his own family, having 6 children in 10 years. He never really liked the practice of law, so when some friends encouraged him to run for public office, he did. He won a seat in his state's legislature. He served his term and was reelected. He was considered a rising star in politics. Frank was young, handsome, energetic, wealthy, well-connected, and ambitious. He had it all, except maybe character. Although he was an effective legislator, he seemed shallow, somewhat self-serving. He appeared to expect success. Further, he did not seem committed to any real principles, except maybe his own advancement. Eventually, the then President of the United States asked him to serve as Undersecretary of the Navy. After several years in that post, he was chosen to be on his political party's ticket as their vice presidential nominee. Although the ticket was defeated, everyone knew that Frank was a man on a rise. He was famous and he had a bright future. He was a man to watch. The summer after that grueling presidential campaign, he took his family to a cottage he owned off the Atlantic coast of Canada. It was a marvelous vacation filled with sailing and swimming and lots of family activities with his young children. On one very busy day in particular, he took his kids sailing. They landed on an island and put out a brush fire. They returned to the shore, jogged 2 miles to his favorite swimming hole for a refreshing swim. Finally, they returned home for a family dinner. Before he could eat, Frank felt a sense of overwhelming tiredness, so he went to bed without dinner. In the middle of the night, a fever spiked, and he felt like he couldn't move his legs. He was paralyzed from the waist down. Doctors were called in. They disagreed on what was wrong with him. Finally, they came to agreement. It was polio, a dreaded and feared disease at the time that left its victims crippled and incapacitated for life. Here was a man with so much and such a bright future. He was only 39 years old. However, he lived in a time when those with physical handicaps were not thought capable of serving in public office. So he vowed to beat polio. He tried every cure possible, traveling across the country and spending thousands of dollars. He was determined to walk again. So he worked hard, exercising and struggling for hours at a time and sometimes days to simply, in his words, just wiggle his little toe. He was determined to beat the disease. If this were the movies, I would tell you that Frank's efforts paid off, that he walked again, that there was a big scene at the end of the film and he took unaided steps and we would all leave the theater feeling good. However, that's not what happened. He never took an unaided step for the rest of his life, and he often was in a wheelchair. However, in his battle with polio, he gained something far more important than the use of his legs. Frank, or as you may know him, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, gained character. In the face of hopelessness, he learned to be upbeat and positive. He came to better understand adversity and what it really took to overcome it. His wife Eleanor would later remark, "I know that he had a real fear when he was first taken ill, but he learned to surmount it. And after that, I never heard him say he was afraid of anything." Roosevelt himself said of adversity, "You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You are able to say to yourself, I lived through this horror, and I can take the next thing that comes along. You must do the thing you think you cannot do." It was in the darkness of the struggle to overcome polio that Franklin Roosevelt, that self-serving lightweight, gained the character to become FDR, the man who took office as president in the darkest hour of the Great Depression, in the face of 25% unemployment, failing businesses, wage cuts, a collapsed stock market, and Americans fighting in the streets over garbage to eat. He inspired a nation with his confidence, optimism, and fearlessness. The character he displayed in facing the Depression was also evident when he later led the country during World War II, defeating the greatest threat to freedom the world had ever faced. I could go on about Roosevelt's achievement as president and the character he displayed. However, I want to get to the obvious lesson his story teaches us. True character is nurtured in adversity. Roosevelt would never have been able to lead a desperate nation from the brink of collapse to the unquestioned summit of the world after World War II without polio. Qualities such as persistence, courage, determination, fortitude, and positivity that are agreed to be among those that constitute character grow in adversity. Facing hardship, sorrow, misfortune creates empathy, understanding, and strength. Quite simply, enduring trials in life give people the opportunity to develop true character. Does this mean I wish adversity upon all of you so you'll have a chance to truly acquire character? Not at all. I wish you a carefree life. Unfortunately, that's not realistic. As I'm sure your parents will tell you, adversity is unavoidable. It will find you. The question is, what will you do when adversity comes? How will you respond? My wish is that you respond with determination and persistence, and that you remain confident and optimistic in the face of challenges life brings your way. My hope is the inevitable struggle with these challenges builds a strength in you that enables you to overcome discouragement and find success in the most difficult circumstances. My desire is that you become a person who eagerly attempts to, as Roosevelt said, do the thing that you think you cannot do. If you leave this place and become that type of person, it will be clear to all that you've obtained the fourth pillar of the National Honor Society, character. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Wallace. We will now commence our candle lighting ceremony. At the center of the stage, you will observe a single lit candle. This is known as the candle of knowledge, and it represents all of the knowledge a student can obtain while he or she is in school, and how they can apply that knowledge to better themselves and their community. Each of our officers will light a candle symbolizing scholarship, character, leadership, and service from that center candle, and offer their own reflections on the four pillars of National Honor Society. Now I will offer my thoughts on scholarship. It is easy to say that scholarship is simply getting straight A's or learning and expanding your knowledge. However, scholarship is much more than that. Scholarship is a lifelong love of learning. Each small choice you make to want to learn something leads to wanting to learn more. So in the end, scholarship is just a sum of small choices. Each time you decide you want to learn something, the experience will be so rewarding that the next time becomes easier. And in this way, learning becomes a habit. And your desire to learn makes getting A's easier. And the focus on grades will be on learning instead. Although sometimes the knowledge can still be hard to understand or to gain, knowing you've understood a difficult subject is a reward, and then the world around you becomes full of learning opportunities. Scholarship is not about desiring to be taught, but rather wishing to learn. The more you learn, the more you find out how much you do not know, and if you think you know it all, then no knowledge can be gained. Scholarship is about questioning and attempting things you cannot do so that you can learn how to do them. But it should also be mentioned that scholarship does not end with simply knowing information, but rather valuing that knowledge and applying it wisely. Thank you. National Honor Society Vice President Ryan Young will say a few words about character.
Basketball Hall of Famer John Wooden once said, "Be more concerned with your character than your reputation, because your character is what you really are, while your reputation is merely what others think you are." The National Honor Society defines character as the distinguishing factor between individuals. It is the constant striving towards greatness and strong, sensible decisions. A person's character cannot be measured with one single event. It must be built and constructed over countless events in one's life. Many of you today share this distinguishing quality of a good character, excelling in fields of responsibility, respect, and integrity. Although the right decision can be the hard one to make, those with good character will always make the best choice based on the circumstances. True character is owning up to your failures and improving yourself every day, all while accepting responsibility for the faults and mistakes of your past. Those of you here today have demonstrated your drive to become better students, developing your character, not just your reputation. You have taken a step above the rest and dedicated endless hours to school, sports, community service, and other extracurricular activities, pushing you to the forefront of our future. You are some of the best students our generation has to offer and will continue to grow into people that will change the future for the better. While excelling in academics, your character has been tested throughout your entire high school career, whether it was writing Mr. Whelan's 20 pointers at 2 in the morning or studying for a math test until the very last minute. Stick to your character, your morals, your future, and your reputation will follow. Living to promote character by setting an example and a standard for future generations to reach will promote the prosperity of our future. Past generations have already laid down the groundwork for us to shine brightly as young adults. Our parents have urged us to become the best we can be, pushing us to achieve more, and now it's our time to do our part. Our drive and passion for success will lead the world into newfound prosperity that will bring a brighter, better future. As Ronald Reagan once said, each generation goes further than the generation preceding it because it stands on the shoulders of that generation. You will have opportunities beyond anything we've ever known. I encourage each and every one of you to let your characters be the foundation for your future, for future generations to grow, and allow yourself to shine as the bright and smart young adults you are.
Thank you, Ryan. National Honor Society Treasurer Zoe Abel will now speak about leadership.
Good evening, everyone. As Arpita said, I will be discussing the pillar of leadership. When Mr. Whelan told us as officers we would each have to make a speech about one of the pillars of National Honor Society, I hoped I would have the opportunity to write my speech about leadership. Leadership is not just a skill needed to obtain membership into this organization, but a quality that will make you more successful in life itself. However, leadership can be hard to explain in an explicit definition. The word leadership has a variation of connotations to different people, but I believe that most can agree that the skill of being a leader is an essential one to thrive in this ever-changing world. Too often in life, people get lost in the crowd or want to blend in so no one notices them. They don't like being different or walking the road less traveled, so they continue living life as your average everyday person. But all of you about to be inducted into NHS do not live this way. You've all seized the opportunity to become a leader in some aspect of your life, whether it is at school, an extracurricular activity, a sport, or anywhere else you have gained the experience and knowledge to be a leader. In addition, these experiences have led you to know that leadership is not just about being in charge or the one who makes all the decisions. Leadership is allowing others to have a voice as well, while using all those ideas to create an effective manner to deal with a situation or issue. An effective leader is one who puts his or her own agenda aside and instead listens to what others want or need. This is the type of leader I hope each and every one of you strive to be, not just in where you are a leader, but a leader of a group, but in your everyday lives. Leading is setting a good example to others, which can be tied back to the other three pillars of the National Honor Society. You have all obtained membership by your exemplary scholarship, character, and service for others, but your leadership is what will continue to be successful in the future. To conclude, I'd like to share my favorite quote about leadership and what I personally think perfectly sums up what a leader is to me. Leadership should be more participative than directive, more enabling than performing. The best leaders are those who do not appear to be one, but instead use their wisdom and ability to become the leader. Thank you.
Thank you, Zoe. National Honor Society Secretary Mary Kromka will speak about service.
Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank you all for being here as we recognize these students for their outstanding character, scholarship, leadership, and last but certainly not least, their service. Service is defined as the action of helping or doing work for someone else. Each of you inductees is here tonight because you have made the decision to make service a part of your life. For some people, service comes naturally. However, it might not come so easily for others. I applaud each of you for the service you have done for others in the past and hope each one of you will continue it in the future. Service is not something with definite guidelines, but is something that can be formed by people of all ages and in all parts of our lives. We do it in everyday life, our school and our community, and in our nation. Serving is oftentimes instilled in children while they are young in their family life. These actions are not always what people think of when they think of service, but that does not make them any less valuable. This type of service can be something as simple as unloading the dishwasher or doing the laundry for your parents. It is the simple things that add up to make a much larger impact. We can also serve in our school and community. This can range from volunteering at a local food bank to staying after school to tutoring a peer, and everything in between. These actions do not require us to give or pay money. They only require us to give some of our time to others. We can also serve on a bigger platform, our nation. This may seem daunting at first, but people do it every day. One way to serve our nation is by being a good citizen. This entails carrying out our civil duties, such as voting and obeying the law. We can also serve our country by being elected to a government office or by serving in the armed forces. Each one of these is so different, but they are all ways we can serve our nation and make an impact. Serving others is something that every person has the capacity to do, and is something you inductees have shown throughout your life. As Martin Luther King Jr. so wisely said, everybody can be great because anyone can serve. You don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and your verb agree to serve. You don't have to know the second theory of thermodynamics and physics to serve. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. Each one of you is here tonight because you have made the decision to make service a part of your life. If you all continue to serve those around you, you can collectively change the world for the better.
Thank you, Mary. We will now begin the induction ceremony. Mr. Whelan will call the name of each candidate and invite them to take their place on stage.
Cheyenne Allen, daughter of Mr. Victor Allen and Miss LaShawn Brown. She's a member of the Interact Club, the Book Club, and the Black Student Union. Eden Batt, daughter of Mr. Keith Sandor and Mrs. Christina Sandor. She's a member of the Gateway Girls varsity soccer team, vice president of Junior Class Council, and a member of Youth Alive. Jenna Beam, daughter of Mr. Kevin Beam and Mrs. Megan Beam. She's a member of Winter Guard, Ultimate Frisbee, and the Marching Band. Jillian Blackburn, daughter of Mr. Forrest Blackburn and Mrs. Judy Immel Blackburn. She's a member of the Marching Band, the plays and musicals, and she takes voice lessons. Joshua Bobbin, son of Mr. Jerome Bobbin and Miss Nicole Schwader. He's a member of the baseball team and a community volunteer. Anthony Camuso, son of Mr. Jerry Camuso and Miss Kimberly Rossetti. He's a member of the varsity baseball team, the Interact Club, and the chess club. Sophia Chaudhry, daughter of Mr. Ahmad Chaudhry and Miss Rani Chaudhry. She's a member of the Interact Club, the Spanish Club, and Students for Change. Santino Comunal, son of Mr. A.J. Comunal and Mrs. Candy Comunal. He's a member of the varsity football team, the varsity baseball team, and the Spanish Club. Ava Dejas, daughter of Mr. Brian Dejas and Mrs. Stacy Dejas. She's a member of the girls' softball team, the Interact Club, and the Spanish Club. Emma Diltz, daughter of Mr. Matthew Diltz and Mrs. Laura Crobot. She's a member of the girls' Gateway tennis team, student government, and Buddy Up tennis program. Brendan Edgar, son of Mr. Mark Mathias and Mrs. Erin Edgar Barbera. He's a member of the varsity basketball team, the AAU basketball team, and recreational basketball. Annie Rose Garness, daughter of Mr. Robert Garness and Dr. Stacy Muir. She's a member of the Gateway Girls varsity basketball team, Girl Scouts, and SGA. Zala Gohar, daughter of Mr. Khalid Gohar and Salah Katak. She's a member of the book club and the yoga club. Kayla Grattan, daughter of Mr. Albert Grattan and Mrs. Maria Grattan. She's a member of the varsity high school softball team, travel softball teams, and the book club. Jacob Hill, son of Mr. Richard Hill and Mrs. Holly Hill. He's a member of the boys volleyball team, the Interact Club, and the AIM department. Tadeusz Hormansky, son of Mr. Curtis Hormansky and Mrs. Patty Hormansky. He's a member of the Gateway Marching Band, the Boy Scouts, and the AIM program. Erica Jackson, daughter of Mr. Eric Jackson and Mrs. Nakia Jackson. She's a member of the Black Student Union, the tennis team, and the book club. Jesse Kaufman, son of Mr. Adam Kaufman and Miss Leona Kaufman. He is a member of the junior coach of the Fitness Kids Factory, a scene developer and actor at Haunted Hills Hayride, and a member of the Snow Sports Club. Brianna Key, daughter of Mr. Brian Key and Mrs. Judith Key. She's a member of the Century Soccer Team, the Student Government Association, and the Gateway Girls Soccer Team. Rebecca Kubler, daughter of Mr. Mark Kubler and Mrs. Lori Kubler. She's a member of the Gateway Girls Soccer Team, Junior Class Council, and the Spanish Club. Olivia Livingston, daughter of Mr. C.L. Livingston and Mrs. Angela Livingston. She's a member of the Jewish Community Center Sailfish Swim Club, the national team, the Gateway High School swim team, and the Black Student Union. Tonight she is unfortunately not with us because she is fortunately swimming at States. Sean Mannion, son of Mr. John Mannion and Mrs. Lisa Mannion. He's a member of the Spanish Club. He volunteers at Little Sisters of the Poor, and he works at D'Annunzio's. Connor McCune, son of Mr. Michael McCune and Miss Kara Intreri. He's a member of the Gateway Volleyball Team, the Interact Club, and the Junior Class Council. Benjamin Mashenko, son of Mr. Thomas Mashenko and Mrs. Stephanie Mashenko. He's a member of the Gateway Boys Soccer Team, the Track and Field Team, and the AIM program. Lauren Miller, daughter of Mr. Greg Miller and Mrs. Kimberly Miller. She's a member of her church youth group, American Sign Language, and gymnastics. Alex Misner, son of Mr. Paul Misner and Mrs. Jennifer Misner. He's a member of the Gateway Marching Band, Winter Track, and Outdoor Track. Aral Muftulu, son of Mr. Kershaw Muftulu and Denise Muftulu. He's a member of the Gateway Girls He's a member of the Gateway Girls, I said it twice, the Gateway Boys Varsity Soccer Team, the Varsity Swimming Team, and the AIM program. Supriya Namasavayam, daughter of Mr. Venkatesh Namasavayam and Mrs. Sumathi Balasundaram. She's a member of the volleyball team, president of Junior Class Council, and co-founder of the Spanish Club. Madison Neuendorfer, daughter of Mr. David Neuendorfer and Mrs. Nicole Neuendorfer. She's a member of the Gateway High School girls soccer team, Century United Soccer Club, and East Region ODP. Macy Perry, daughter of Mr. Jeff Perry and Mrs. Carla Perry. She's a member of the high school swim team, varsity volleyball team, and the Spanish Club. Sydney Perry, daughter of Mr. Jeff Perry and Mrs. Carla Perry. She's a member of the varsity high school volleyball team, varsity swim team, and the Park Swim Club. Elizabeth Richmond, daughter of Mr. Eric Richmond and Mrs. Karen Richmond. She's the president and creator of the Book Club, member of the Interact Club, and a member of the new Political Club. Mia Scarcelli, daughter of Mr. Jay Scarcelli and Mrs. Wendy Scarcelli. She's a member of the Gateway Musicals, the Spanish Club, and the Art Club. Abigail Sechrist, daughter of Mr. Michael Sechrist and Mrs. Stephanie Sechrist. She's a member of the Gateway Girls Golf Club, the Interact Club, and Camp Intervention. Leah Semenyenko, daughter of Mr. Alexander Semenyenko and Mrs. Vera Semenyenko. She's a member of the Junior Class Council, the Interact Club, and the Spanish Club. Madeline Smith, daughter of Mr. Tim Smith and Mrs. April Smith. She's a member of the cross-country team, the bowling team, and Opus 2 Strings Orchestra. Jordan Stankovich, son of Mr. Ken Stankovich and Mrs. Janice Stankovich. He's a member of the Gateway varsity football team, Gateway varsity baseball team, and mentors children in the Gators Helping Gators program. Armand Verk, son of Mr. Michael Verk and Mrs. Nancy Verk. He's a member of the Gateway varsity boys volleyball team and the Interact Club. Joshua Weidman, son of Mr. Gregory Weidman and Mrs. Carla Weidman. He's a member of the Boy Scouts, Mock Trial, and the Young Men's Organization. Anthony Jung, son of Mr. Wei Min Zhou and Mrs. Chui Han Pan. He's a member of the Gateway Interact Club and the CACP recording team. And Robert Zarowski III, son of Mr. Robert Zarowski Jr. and Mrs. Michelle Zarowski. He's a member of the Gateway Mock Trial team, the Gateway Political Club, and he's a well-rounded musician.
Now we will recite the oath of the National Honor Society. I Congratulations, inductees.
This is by far the hardest test I've ever taken. Stage lights, please. Stage lights back, please. Inductees, please leave your candles lit for now, if you can, without burning anyone. And I would really like to thank everyone for coming tonight, to Mr. Stevens and Mr. Wallace especially for his efforts over the years and gracing us tonight with his presence. The inductees will remain on stage for a few minutes if you would like to continue to take pictures, and then everyone's invited to the auditorium lobby for some Gateway punch and cookies. Thank you so much.